Hello everyone, I'm Gadux, and we're back with another Mobile Legends video, this time on the advanced server, because we have a new patch and therefore new hero balancing, which also includes some rebounds. And we start with Hilda. Hilda's efficiency and durability for clearing minions in late game matches are low, and she depends on bushes to activate her passive effect, which leaves her with average performance in the experience lane. That's why, this time, we redesigned Hilda's passive skill, changing the enhanced basic attack, which was originally obtained from her first skill when entering a bush, thus improving her presence in the experience lane and her efficiency in clearing minions. On the other hand, her first skill has been redesigned to grant a shield and a speed boost, reducing her dependence on bushes. We have also optimized the control experience of basic attacks after the second skill, improving the efficiency of stacking passives and the smoothness of combos. To balance this, we have reduced the physical and magic defense reduction of the passive nature mark. So in her renewed passive, we have, when Hilda enters a bush, her next basic attack deals 140 plus 70% of total physical attack plus extra damage per hero level, and slows the target by 40% for 3 seconds. Enemies behind the target receive 70 plus 50% of total physical attack, plus 7 per hero level of physical damage. After using this enhanced basic attack, it goes on a 6-second cooldown. The chase speed of the enhanced basic attack increased from 10 to 13. Also, each stack reduces the target's physical and magical defense by 4%, which has now changed to 3%. Next, in her revamped first skill, Hilda activates the unique power of her giant axe, which increases her movement speed by 60% and grants her a shield equal to 10 to 20% of her maximum health for 3 seconds. Now let's move on to her second skill. The dash distance of the third attack of her second skill was reduced by 33%. As for her ultimate, the chase range of her ultimate was optimized, and its hit probability after locking onto a target was increased. Well, interesting then, this revamp for Hilda, which I think they've already been working on in previous patches. I don't know if they removed it before and now brought it back, but with some improvements or adjustments. But we'll see how it goes. I know there are a lot of My Hilda fans who didn't want them to touch her, but for me personally, at least a minimal revamp was necessary. Now let's go with Xavier. Xavier depends on continuously hitting enemies with his first and second skills to improve and enter Transcendent State, which increases the damage dealt. This doesn't meet our design expectations. Therefore, we've increased the range of all his skills. We've turned Stage 1 into a permanent passive and removed the original effect of Stage 2. This allows Xavier to enter the Transcendent State more quickly. To balance this change, we've reduced the immobilization duration of Skill 2. So we have in his passive, when Xavier hits an enemy hero with his skills, he gains 50% movement speed, which decreases over 1 to 2 seconds. Xavier gains an energy charge for each enemy hero his skill hits. When he reaches 3 charges, his next skill cast will enter Transcendent State. Now let's move on to his first skill. It says, the width of the skill in its normal state went from 0.6 to 0.9, and the mana cost went from 50 to 75 to 30 to 55. Then, his second skill's immobilization time decreased from 1.2 to 0.8 seconds. Also, the skill's normal width increased from 3.5 to 4.3. The width of the skill in Transcendent State went from 5.0 to 4.3. The width of the skill in normal state went from 2.2 to 3.0. The skill's width in Transcendent State changed from 3.8 to 3.0. Well, they had already brought this revamp before and then rolled it back. I mean, they brought it, people complained, they canceled it, and now they're bringing it back again. I don't know what modification they brought this time compared to the first time, but I'm seeing it pretty much the same. I'm not sure if they brought the same revamp, but I really dislike this one. Because look, with the second ability, it's basically a nerf, because it's going to immobilize for less time. Also, the width of the ability when it's upgraded is going to be smaller. I mean, it's going to be the same width as the first ability. Yes, they made the width a bit bigger when it's in the normal state, but they made it smaller when it's in the transcendent state, so I see it as really nerfed. And with the ULT, it's the same. I mean, with the ULT, they made it a bit bigger in the normal state, and it stays like that in the transcendent state. I mean, they totally nerfed him because Xavier's potential was when he entered the transcendent state, that's when he was really okay, not when he uses his abilities outside of the transcendent state. So I don't like it at all. I hope they cancel this revamp again. Let's move to another returning revamp, Minotaur. He says, as a tank hero, Minotaur heals and empowers his team far more than he sustains himself. We want his combat abilities to fit his character better. We've reworked the original Enraged regeneration effect, which boosted the second skill into Minotaur's new passive to enhance his combat durability. Well, in his revamped passive, Minotaur gets motivated for 3 seconds after using the skill. When he's enraged, the regeneration effect is doubled. Then it says motivation. Recovers health points equal to 5% of the damage taken from enemy heroes, plus 1% per hero level. Then, in his revamped second skill, it says the healing range. Minotaur heals himself and all nearby allies. Now, Minotaur heals himself and the nearest ally. With less health points as well, the additional recovery of lost health points went from 5 to 8%. And in the enraged state, it removes the previous effects of being enraged. Now Minotaur heals himself and all nearby allies. And in his ULT, the slow effect went from 40 to 60%, and the airborne duration went from 1 second to 0.8 seconds. Well, this revamp was also controversial. They had previously rolled it back, if I'm not mistaken, and now it's back. And I think the only change would be that in the enraged state of his second skill, it removes the previous effects, it says, of enraged. Now Minotaur heals himself and all his allies. So now with his second skill in normal state, he won't be able to heal all his allies. But when he's enraged with his second skill, he will be able to heal all his allies. I think that's the only improvement compared to the previous version of this revamp. But I don't know. I'm still not completely convinced. Let's go with another tank. Atlas had also received a revamp before, and then it was canceled. Atlas's second skill and ultimate lack clear range indicators in real combat to determine if they can hit enemies. Therefore, we have adjusted the ranges of his passive Frigid Breath, the stun of his second skill, and the slow effect of the first stage of his ultimate, so that they are completely consistent. Players can now use the second visual effect circle of Frigid Breath as a range indicator for other skills, which improves the overall hit probability. So for his passive, the range of Frigid Breath has increased from 2 to 3. Also, the increase in physical and magic defense went from 16 up to 30 to 20, plus 0.5% of his extra PS in his second skill. We have that the damage and stun range after Atlas returns to Mecha went from 2.5 to 3. The stun duration after Atlas returns to Mecha went from 1 second to 0.8 seconds. And in his ultimate, or ulti, the slow range of the first stage went from 3.5 to 3. Well, I don't know in this case if it's a significant improvement or not for Atlas. So any My Atlas players, tell me what you think about this change. Or I don't know if I should call it a revamp. Now we continue with Benedetta, whose revamp has also returned. In her passive, the sword intent gained when dealing damage went from 30 to 34, and the detection time to enter the swordsman state by holding down the basic attack button has been reduced by 40%. When Benedetta is interrupted by control effects while charging with Sword Slash, the charging state will be interrupted and her current sword intent will be maintained. Once the control effect ends, she will need to hold down the basic attack again to enter the charging state. When Benedetta is in the swordsman state and is controlled while her sword intent is fading, her swordsman state will be interrupted and she will regain her full sword intent. Once the control effect ends, she will need to hold down the basic attack again to enter the charging state. Now let's discuss Balmond and his first skill. The physical defense reduction went from 15 to 30%, up to 40%, and the movement speed reduction went from 30% to 40%. So it's a buff for Balmond. Let's continue with Alucard. Alucard's scaling ability is too powerful in the current version, so we've reduced his damage in the mid and late game to restore balance. So in his passive, the total physical attack bonus to enhanced basic attack went from 140% to 125%. His first skill's total physical attack bonus dropped from 110% to 85%. So a nerf to Alucard, which I imagine is because Alucard is now performing quite well in ranked matches. Now we have Yi Sun Shin. The duration and utility of Yi Sun Shin's crowd control immunity have been reduced to lower his pick priority in high rank and professional matches. For his first skill, the duration of crowd control immunity went from 1 second to 0.4 seconds, the same as the dash duration. And for his ultimate, the map vision duration went from 5 seconds to 2 seconds. A strong nerf then to Yi Sun Shin. Now we have Arlott. Arlott's damage was too high with a defensive setup, so we've slightly reduced his base damage. In his second skill, the base damage changed from 135, 335 to 135, 285. Well, this is because they were using Arlott a lot as a tank or as a roamer. And honestly, it seems he was performing really well and also had a lot of damage. And that's why they reduced the damage of his second skill. Now let's move on to Glue. Glue can be easily weakened in the late stages of the game. To fix this, we've increased the health points restored by his first skill to improve his durability in the late stages of the game. So, for his first skill, the health regeneration went from 2.5 up to 5% to 2.5 up to 6%. A small buff then for Glue, who apparently wasn't performing very well in the late game. So with this, I think it leaves him pretty solid overall. And finally, we have Cece. Cece's stacks of delight gradually decrease when she doesn't deal damage, which gives her movement speed and boosted spell vamp most of the time, making it hard for enemies to counter her. So we've increased the reduction speed. In her passive, the stack removal changed from 1 stack reduced every 1 second to 1 stack reduced every 0.3 seconds. Well, it's a nerf for Cece, who was pretty strong, especially in the experienced lanes, so with this nerf, Cece won't be able to hold out as much anymore. And well guys, that's it for now with these latest notes from the advanced server patch. When does this patch arrive on the official server? Well, they never confirm the exact day when the patches will arrive on the official server. What they usually do is release a patch on the advanced server every week. And then, generally once a month, they release a patch with all the advanced server patches together to the official server. So some changes you saw in this patch might be reverted next week. So you always have to keep that in mind. So now you know. If you liked the video, give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.